It's 2:40 a.m. You're 1,000 miles deep in enemy territory. 8 helicopters, 130 elite operators. One chance to pull off the impossible. Then, the radios crackle.
Increasing turbulence, prepare for descent.
We have a mechanical failure. Another voice, hydraulic system down. A third,
Control, we are experiencing catastrophic failure.
we can't continue. In the next 6 hours, everything that could go wrong did. This is the true story of 3 declassified Special Forces missions that became absolute nightmares. And tonight, you'll hear exactly what happened, minute by minute, decision by decision. Stay with me, because what you're about to witness will change how you see modern warfare forever. Welcome back to Frontline America. If you're new here, we dive deep into the most intense, classified military operations in history. And today, we're uncovering missions that governments try to bury. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And if you make it to the end, I've got a bonus mission that'll blow your mind. These aren't Hollywood movies. These are real operations, real warriors, real consequences. Let's begin. Mission 1, Operation Eagle Claw, Desert 1 disaster. November 4th, 1979. Tehran, Iran. 52 Americans are taken hostage at the U.S. Embassy. The world watches on television as blindfolded diplomats are paraded before cameras. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Negotiations go nowhere. President Jimmy Carter is under immense pressure. The American people want action. But Tehran is 1,000 miles from the nearest friendly territory. The hostages are scattered across multiple locations. Iranian military forces patrol the streets. It seems impossible, but there's one group that specializes in the impossible. Delta Force, America's newest and most elite counterterrorism unit, led by the legendary Colonel Charlie Beckwith. The plan they developed was audacious. Phase 1, 8 RH-53DC Stallion helicopters would launch from the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz in the Arabian Sea. They'd fly low, under radar, across 600 miles of Iranian desert at night. Phase 2. They'd land at a remote dirt airstrip codenamed Desert 1, where 6 C-130 Hercules transport planes would be waiting with fuel, vehicles, and Delta Force operators. Phase 3. After refueling, the helicopters would fly to a mountain hide site 50 miles from Tehran. The next night, they'd infiltrate the city using trucks, assault the embassy compound, rescue the hostages, and extract by helicopter to a captured airfield where C-141 cargo planes would fly everyone to safety. Simple, right? Colonel Beckwith knew better. He needed a minimum of 6 helicopters to complete the mission. They were sending 8 to account for mechanical failures. But even with backups, the margin for error was razor thin. April 24th, 1980. The mission is a go. 8 p.m., April 24th. 8 helicopters lift off from the USS Nimitz. Radio silence. Total blackout. They're flying at 200 feet to avoid Iranian radar, navigating by instruments alone through pitch-black desert. But within the first hour, problems begin. Helicopter number 6 develops a blade failure indicator light. The pilot has no choice. He lands in the desert and abandons the aircraft. The crew is picked up by another helicopter. 7 helicopters remain. Then, they hit something no one predicted, a massive dust storm with sand so thick the pilots can't see their own instruments. Some helicopters climb above it. Others push through. The formation breaks apart. Helicopter number 5's gyroscope fails in the storm. Without navigation instruments in total darkness, the pilot makes the agonizing decision to turn back. 6 helicopters remain, exactly the minimum needed. Meanwhile, at Desert 1, the C-130s have landed. Delta Force operators are waiting. But there's an unexpected problem. Desert 1 isn't as remote as intelligence suggested. A civilian bus drives down a nearby road. The operators stop it, detaining 44 surprised Iranian passengers. Minutes later, a fuel truck appears. When it doesn't stop, operators fire. The truck explodes into a massive fireball, lighting up the night sky like a beacon. So much for stealth. Colonel Beckwith checks his watch. The helicopters are late. Very late. Finally, at 1 a.m., Nearly 3 hours behind schedule, the helicopters arrive at Desert One. But as they land, the worst news comes. Helicopter number 2 reports a hydraulic pump failure. It's unflyable. 5 helicopters remain, one below the minimum. Colonel Beckwith faces the most difficult decision of his life. They're deep in hostile territory. They've been compromised. They don't have enough helicopters. He gets on the radio with commanders in the White House. At 2:40 a.m., President Carter gives the order, abort the mission. The hostages would remain captive. The rescue was over before it truly began. But the nightmare at Desert One was just beginning. Now comes the frantic task of getting everyone out safely. Helicopters need to reposition for refueling before the long flight back. C-130s prepare for takeoff. Operators load equipment in near darkness, with rotor wash kicking up blinding sand. 4:40 a.m. Helicopter number 4 lifts off to reposition and immediately turns left instead of right. The pilot, blinded by dust, doesn't see the parked C-130 directly ahead. The helicopter's rotor blades slice into the C-130's fuselage. Both aircraft erupt in a massive fireball. Ammunition begins cooking off. Fuel explodes. The desert night turns into an inferno. 8 American servicemen perish instantly. 5 Air Force crew on the C-130 and 3 Marines in the helicopter. Survivors scramble away from the burning wreckage as ammunition continues to explode. The remaining helicopters are abandoned. Operators pile into the surviving C-130s. They take off, leaving behind their dead, classified documents, maps showing the rescue plan, and 5 intact helicopters for the Iranians to capture. By sunrise, images of charred American aircraft and remains would be broadcast worldwide. Iran had won a devastating propaganda victory. The hostages? They remained captive for 270 more days, finally released on January 20th, 1981, the day Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as president. Operation Eagle Claw became a case study in what happens when complex plans meet harsh reality. But the lessons learned led to the creation of U.S. Special Operations Command and revolutionized how America conducts special operations. From disaster came evolution. But we're just getting started. Our next mission takes place 13 years later in the streets of Mogadishu, Somalia. And what was supposed to be a 1-hour operation turned into an 18-hour urban nightmare. Mission 2, Operation Gothic Serpent, Black Hawk Down, October 3, 1993, Mogadishu, Somalia. For months, Task Force Ranger, a unit of Delta Force operators, Army Rangers, and the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, has been hunting Mohammed Farah Aidid, a warlord whose militia has been attacking UN peacekeepers and stealing food aid. They've conducted 6 successful raids. Quick, clean, in and out. Today will be the 7th. 2:32 p.m. Intelligence confirms that 2 of Aidid's top lieutenants are meeting at a building near the Bakara Market, the most hostile neighborhood in Mogadishu. The plan is simple. Helicopters insert Rangers to secure the perimeter. Delta Force operators fast rope onto the target building, capture the lieutenants, and load everyone into a convoy of vehicles. Duration, 30 minutes, maybe an hour tops. They'd be back at base before dinner. 3:32 p.m. 4 MH, 6 Little Birds, and 4 MH, 60 Blackhawks take off. 12 vehicles roll out. 160 men total. The helicopters scream over Mogadishu streets. Hundreds of Somalis look up. This time is different. The element of surprise is gone. Cell phones light up across the city. Militia fighters grab weapons. The Americans don't know it yet, but they're flying into a trap. 3:42 p.m. Rangers fast rope down, hitting the ground hard. Delta operators breach the target building. Within minutes, they've captured 24 prisoners, including the 2 targets. Mission accomplished. But as they prepare to load the prisoners, the radio crackles with 3 words that change everything. We have a Black Hawk down. Super 6-1, a Black Hawk helicopter piloted by Chief Warrant Officer Cliff Walcott, has been hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. The helicopter spins out of control and crashes into a residential neighborhood. The entire mission changes instantly. No one gets left behind. Every available operator diverts to the crash site. But this is Bakara Market. Thousands of armed militia members are converging on the area. The Americans are outnumbered 100 to 1. Rangers and Delta operators fight their way to the first crash site through narrow streets. Buildings provide cover for militia fighters. RPG streak overhead. The Americans are pinned down. Then, the second radio call. We have another Black Hawk down. Super 6-4, piloted by Chief Warrant Officer Michael Durant, has also been hit. It crashes into an even more hostile area, miles from the first crash site. Task Force Ranger now has 2 down helicopters, wounded operators scattered across Mogadishu, and thousands of enemy fighters closing in. At the second crash site, 2 Delta snipers, Master Sergeant Gary Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randy Sugard, volunteer to be inserted to protect the survivors. They know it's a suicide mission. They request insertion anyway. Their request is initially denied. Too dangerous. They request again and again. Finally, they're inserted. Just 2 men against an army. For 20 minutes, Gordon and Sugard fight off waves of militia fighters, protecting the wounded crew of Super 6-4. When their ammunition runs out, they continue fighting with weapons taken from enemies. Both men are killed defending their comrades. Pilot Michael Durant is captured but survives. Gordon and Sugard would both be posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, the first awarded since Vietnam. Back at the first crash site, the Rangers and Delta operators establish a perimeter in a residential area. Night falls. They're surrounded, low on ammunition, with wounded comrades. What was supposed to be a 30-minute operation has become an 18-hour siege. Through the darkness, they hold their position. Close quarters fighting. Every window a potential threat. Every shadow could be the enemy. Finally, at dawn, a rescue convoy of Malaysian and Pakistani UN forces, supported by American vehicles, fights its way to the crash site. The surrounded operators pile into the vehicles and fight their way back to base. The cost: 18 Americans killed, 73 wounded. Estimates suggest between 300 to 500 Somali militia members and civilians lost their lives in the battle. The images of dead American soldiers being dragged through Mogadishu's streets shocked the nation. Within months, U.S. forces withdrew from Somalia. What began as a manhunt ended in strategic defeat. But the courage displayed in those 18 hours became legendary. The operators did what they trained to do. They fought for each other, and they brought their brothers home. These missions, Eagle Claw and Gothic Serpent, represent some of the darkest moments in special operations history. But from failure came profound change. After Eagle Claw, the U.S. created Special Operations Command, revolutionized helicopter technology, and developed new training standards. The lesson saved countless lives in future operations. After Mogadishu, tactics evolved. Rules of engagement were rewritten. Urban warfare doctrine was transformed. The next generation of operators benefited from hard lessons paid for in blood. These weren't failures of courage. Every operator performed with extraordinary bravery under impossible circumstances. These were failures of planning, intelligence, and equipment. Failures that were studied, analyzed, and corrected. Today's Special Operations Forces are the most capable in history, built on a foundation of lessons learned from missions like these. Because warriors don't just honor the fallen with memorials. They honor them by ensuring the same mistakes are never repeated. So there you have it. 2 declassified missions that went catastrophically wrong, but taught us invaluable lessons about courage, adaptability, and the true cost of special operations. If you found this video valuable, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week we're covering the most successful special ops missions in history, the other side of the coin. Drop a comment and let me know, what other declassified operations should we cover? Are you interested in modern missions, Cold War operations, or World War II special forces? And here's that bonus I promised. There's actually a third mission I didn't cover today. Operation Red Wings, the SEAL team mission in Afghanistan that inspired the movie Lone Survivor. If you want me to do a full deep dive on that operation, let me know in the comments. Remember, These warriors gave everything. The least we can do is remember their stories and learn from their sacrifice. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never forget the price of freedom.